So let's continue. So we have the Mustang 9016, so from 1978, and you might ask, oh, what is this German shit again? So let's have a look first in the literature, and then we know what this is all about. So once upon a time, there was a console which was called like RCA Studio II. And so RCA was also one of the companies which got offered to release or distribute the Magnavox Odyssey, but basically they said yes, maybe, no, yes, maybe. So they were unsure if they really want to do the deal or something like that. So one guy from RCA then changed to Magnavox, and he was also the guy who then made the deal for Magnavox to do the deal with Ralph Baer's company to release then the Magnavox Odyssey in 1972. So, and then RCA was like, maybe we should have done this or something like that. So they also started to create their own console. Actually, they tried to first create like a computer, a home computer, but then they thought, okay, no, let's reduce it to a TV console or something like that. Was only in black and white, and then they sold this for like a couple of months or something like that. And when they realized, oh, there are other people or other companies which already had like a color console, no, let's discontinue this. And what they did then also is they licensed this system, especially also the color version, which was planned as RCA Studio III, to European companies, and then some companies in Europe and rest of the world then released this license model or something like that as different kind of consoles in Europe and, as I said, in the rest of the world. So one, as you can see here, very small, is the Mustang 9016. So Mustang also created some Pong consoles in Germany, and also like Pong consoles with exchangeable cassettes or something like that, and they also picked up then the license for the, as I said, the design for the RCA Studio III, which was the color version for the RCA Studio II. And that is basically everything. And you also can sometimes find this kind of family or something like that when you search for the term MPT02. Then you can also find those consoles basically. So as I said, you can find like different versions depending on the country which you are searching for. But then let's have a look at the console again. So this is how the console looks like. So you have like your cartridge port with two metal posts which help to align the cartridge with the cartridge port. Then we have an on-off switch. Then surprise, surprise, like an LED, so that you know if the console is turned on or off or something like that. I think also the first time we see that here on this channel now. Then we have a reset button and two keyboards, like keyboard A and keyboard B for player 1 and player 2, basically, where you can control the games. So there are games already built in. We will also show some of them, but let's have a look at the back side so we can also see how it looks like. And on the back side you can see the only special part is like the power supply connector, as well as the hardwired like TV cable. I will also show you in a minute the connection of the RCA Studio II. So that's why I want to show you that you have a comparison between those two consoles, because actually this is actually better that you have this with the Mustang 9016, because the RCA Studio II has a very proprietary like connection for your power supply as well as for the TV. But other than that, basically this is everything. And the power supply you can use from the Atari VCS, so it's basically the same voltage and the same polarity. So you can just use this power supply, which is quite handy if you don't have the original power supply. But let's talk about what's inside of the console. So what I also wanted to say is that the console is quite rare. So it's not like that some person has more as one of two of those consoles or something like that in his collection. I mean, the funny thing is actually you can flex with the thing or this console, but nobody really cares about that. So I think that's quite funny. So inside, what we have inside? So we have as the CPU, we have the RCA 1802, which has a clock speed of 1.78 megahertz in the NTSC version, so in the Studio 2 version. Since this is the European or PAL version, the clock speed is normally like a little bit slower because it has to adjust for the frame rate, or basically the frame rate of the PAL video signal. And as a GPU, or like a graphic processor, we have the RCA CDP 1861. And since this is the color version, we also have a color chip inside, which is the RCA CDP 1862 then, which was also then planned for this Studio 3 design. And actually, you should also be able to mod this console for an RGB output or something like that, since this this graphic chip, or this like color converter chip, also outputs like different signals for RG and B, so for red, green, and blue. So you should be able to do that. But other than that, that's basically everything I wanted to show about the console, and maybe also something just about the clock speed. I mean, I think you all know how stupid it is to compare clock speeds. I will, in the future videos, I will just tell you the clock speed of these consoles or something like that, but you cannot really compare like different architectures and different clock speed with each other. It's completely stupid. So there are other units or measurements which you can compare between two architectures, but the clock speed is actually completely irrelevant. So this is everything I can say about the console. So let's have a look at the RCA Studio 2, and then we will have a look at the games which were released and the different versions of that, and then we will have a short demo. And just that you saw the box of the console, actually I quite like the design and everything, how the parents like look or like watch the little boy, how he plays bowling on the RCA Studio 2, which in my opinion is actually the best game for this console, which is already built in. But other than that, I just wanted to show you the box. So let's have a look at the console. So, and this is what the console looked like. So it looks quite similar to the Mustang, because actually they couldn't change much because it's the same system. So they also needed the two keyboards, like a cartridge port, a reset button or something like that. So that's why they basically left it like this and just changed a little bit the color scheme for the German market. So this is the base unit, or the main unit. Then we have this connection or connector box, and then we have the power supply. The funny thing is about this connection box, is that you only have one cord from the console to this connection box. The connection box goes to the TV, and the power supply also connects to this connection box. So basically, on one way, this connection box like feeds the console with the power or the electricity, and on the way back, basically, the console then transmits the TV signal to this connection box, and the connection box filters out the electricity part of the signal, and then just gives the TV part or TV signal part to the TV in this case. Atari did the same with the Atari 5200 a few years later, but as I said, it's a quite interesting design. But the problem is, if you don't own the connection box, or if this is missing, you might be out of luck. I mean, you can mod the console to use like two different cables for the power supply as well for the TV connection or something like that, but you have to do that. You have to open that and solder some wires inside and everything. So that's why the Mustang, in my opinion, is a little bit more like easier to for a maintenance or something like that, or to check if the console is working or something like that, since you don't need this connection box. But let's have a look at the games. So the Mustang has some built-in games as well as the RCA Studio 2. So we have like a car race, bowling, like a doodle program, some additions that you have to like add two numbers or something like that, as well as a pattern program. But you could also buy some additional cartridges, and then you could also play those additional games. So those are now the RCA Studio II games, or some of the games. So they were like wrapped in like little boxes or something like that. We will also do a comparison because there are some of the games that were also released for the Mustang, but also some custom games were released for the Mustang 9016. But as I said, so this is how the RCA Studio games were like packaged. But we will also have a look now at the Mustang games. And those are now some of the Mustang games. So they were also like numbered or categorized like 9016B, C, D, E is missing, F and G. I think there was no A. I think A probably like refers to the games which were already built in the Mustang, at least as this is for what I checked in the literature or could find online or something like that. So let's now have a look at a comparison between the Biorhythm games between the Mustang and the RCA Studio II version. So, and this is now the game Biorhythm. So this is the one for the RCA Studio II, and this is the one for the Mustang 9016 basically. And you can also see the difference is that, I mean, for this one, for the German one, I don't own the manual. For the RCA Studio 2 version, I have the manual, but they also decided to have like a short version, what you have to press and what you have to insert for this program on the cartridge itself. So it's quite helpful if you have this information, especially for this program. But for the German version, as I said, you definitely need the manual in this case. Otherwise, you don't know what you have to press on the left keyboard or on the right keyboard, which button you have to press for initializing the program and something like that, basically. So that's already an advantage for the Studio 2 versions. But other than that, basically this is how they compare. And finally, those are some like cartridges for the Konig M1200. I mean, they're all compatible with each other, those especially from those European games, from the European consoles. So you can basically insert every other cartridge into every other console like that. But I also want to show how they look like. For those, I don't own the box or something like that. So those are basically the games, but you can also see again, this is the Biorhythm game, which is basically the same as the two versions for the Studio 2 and the Mustang. But now let's demonstrate a little bit the console itself and some of the games. So let me show you some of the games. We will just have a look at a couple of games, like 5 or 6 games or something like that, and not all of the games. So let's press clear, and then on the left side, if I press the button 3, we get one of the built-in games, which is like bowling. And as I said, I think it's one of the best and simple games actually for the console. So we have now 3 possibilities. We can cut the ball in one direction, in the other direction, or like just play it straight. So let me try to make a strike. Tja. So I should get a beer for that, because I already predicted that I will get a strike. So the other one, player 2, of course, he's like a dumbass. He will do just a straight ball. And let's check if we can maybe get a spare then. Oh, I hit the wrong button, so nope, probably not. But as I said, player 2 is dumb anyways. So that's, in my opinion, actually everything I can show about this game. But as I said, I think for like an evening or something like that, you can play around or something like that. Similar to Wii bowling or something like that. As I said, I think it's quite of a fun game. So let's have a look at some other games. So the next program is Biorhythm, which actually tells you how you would feel today. So what we have to do is we have to press 0 on the left keyboard, And then you can already see like P, E, and I, which stands for physical, emotional, and intellectual, which has different curves now. So the first thing we have to do is like enter our birth date. I mean, of course, I use a fictional one. And then we have to enter the today, basically, and then it will tell us how we would feel on this day. Now he's calculating. Our emotion. And I need to tell you something, this is exactly how I feel today. So let's have a look at the other games. So, and this is now Space War. So if you press 1, we will start the game. So this is our little rocket. This is the alien chip we have to like hit. With 2 we can launch the rocket. And with 4 and 6 on the other keyboard we can like steer the rocket. So you can already see like Independence Day is like shit against that. Okay. But this is basically that. So there's also a different version on this cartridge, but yeah, let's keep it like quite simple. So you can already see what the console is capable and what would be like more advanced for this console. So this is everything which I wanted to show about this program. Let's have a look at another game. So this is now one of the Mustang cartridges. In German it's Krieg der Sterne, which translates to like Star Wars or something like that. According to the manual it's like based on a movie or something like that. I'm not sure which movie they mean. Yeah, okay, let's start it again. So when I press 1, I have to select the speed, and then I get like this like target point or something like that, and like some ships, and then I have to try to capture and shoot the enemy. Okay, we lost this guy, but maybe this one. Yes, and an explosion. Yeah, and another explosion. So that's basically everything I can show about this game. So there's like 2 versions. So one is like being basically like the one who's shooting, and the other one is where you have to avoid getting shot, basically. But those are basically the 2 modes of this cartridge. So let's have another look at 2 other games, and then we will be finished. So, and this is now pinball. So let's start the game with 1 on the left keyboard, and then insert a ball with another 1 on the other keyboard. And we have our 2 bats here. And then we can have fun. So you can already see I don't have much to do actually. Okay. But I mean, compared to like Pong or something like that, which we saw on the last videos, actually it's quite sophisticated, I would say. Although I think you already know that, or you can hear that I'm not the pinball wizard. Tommy is the pinball wizard. Yeah, but actually I don't have much to do. Yeah, and that's about it. So let's have a look at one of the last games, or the last game which we will have a look at, and then we are finished also for this console. So, and this is now the last game, which is like Gunfighter and Moonship Battle. So it's like a 2-part game or something like that, or cartridge. But we will only have a look at the Gunfighter game. So when I press 1, basically the game is starting. And what you can already see is like this actually has some AI, so like the or a CPU opponent in this case. So when you have the Asperger syndrome or something like that, it's actually not a problem. You can already play. You can also play if you have no friends, so that's quite okay. But basically, yeah, two cowboys shooting at each other. Of course, there are cowboys in the desert because they're actually, I don't know the English word for that. In German, it's cactus. I think it's the same probably. So and that's about it. So this is the whole game in this case. So as I said, there's also another game on this cartridge, but yeah, let's leave it at this, so you can or you have an imagination or something like that what the console is capable about. Of course, there were also like Pong games or something like that, but I would even say they are not as good as the Pong console versions actually. So that's about it, and then I will make a short wrap up and tell you what we will see in the next video. So, and that's about it, about the Mustang 9016, which is basically like an implementation of the unofficial reference design by RCA, the RCA Studio III. So it's quite rare, or not that common, I would say. So it was quite interesting for me also to have a look at it again and to check some of the differences and some of the similarities between the RCA Studio II and this console. So in the next video, actually, we will have a look at the German version, or one of the German versions for the Fairchild Channel F, and also to mention that if the year or the publication release year or something like that of some of the consoles now is a little bit different, and maybe you think that the sequence is a little bit different. Actually, the consoles were released in a different in different years in Germany, because, as I said, so there were like 1 or 2 years where they had to make a license deal or something like that, and so some of the consoles which actually came out first in America and then later in America, they are like in reverse order released in Germany or something like that. So that's not that uncommon that as I said, the release year or something like that is different between Germany and, for example, the US or even Japan or something like that. So yeah, in the next video, as I said, we will have a look at the Fairchild Channel F, or one of the German system Fairchilds, as they were called. So there were more than one, and we will have a look at the Nordmende Teleplay in this case. Yeah, so let's see each other in the next video.